keep hanging, but I'm losing my grip. Thing keep pushing, but I'm starting to slip further down than I ever thought I'd fall before. Thing keep walking, but I can't find my step. Thing keep calling, but the distance too great to tell me how you'd ever thought you'd call me yours. See, you made it so far, but it still ain't far enough. Keep on running, running in circles. Keep on running, running in circles. When you break your running shoes, I'll be waiting in the center for you. I keep hoping, but I'm watching it fade. I keep waiting, but I made a mistake to not get in shape. 'Cause I can't keep up with you. See, you made it so far, but it still ain't far enough. Keep on running, running in circles. Keep on running, running in circles. When you break your running shoes, when you break your running shoes, when you break your running shoes, I'll be waiting in the center for you.
Hey, can you hear me?
Absolutely. Can you hear me all right?
Awesome. Yeah, man. How's it going?
I'm good. It's been a while since I've seen you. Like
I
we
know.
talk every once in a while, but like this is the first time in a couple of months I've actually got to see your face on a like in this capacity. It's
I
nice to
know.
see you.
It's great to see you. How are things going?
Things are good. Keeping trying to keep as busy as I can be given the continuous um flexibility that we all have to live in now.
Right.
It's here locally. I'm in Honolulu right now, and uh luckily I caught the good side of daylight savings for me, which is that we are no longer 3 hours apart in time difference.
Oh, so we're just
So
2 hours now.
it's 2 hours now. So
Nice.
it's noon. It's noon here in Honolulu, and I'm grateful that that the daylight savings ended versus starting,
Right.
because I would rather be 1 hour early than 1 hour late. Uh, but it's good. People are starting to come back to Honolulu. Our tourism industry is opening back up, which hopefully is a positive thing for us musicians. That
Yeah.
perform regularly all over the island in the state, and hopefully that means I get to come back to California sooner than later. Cause
Yeah, that'd be great to see
yeah,
you in person.
yeah, I know it's but you know things have been good. Working on some brand new music, and I think I'm gonna do actually later on in the show. I'll do one of the brand new songs that haven't come out yet. So
Awesome. Awesome.
yeah, things have just been good.
Awesome.
I'm
Okay,
super
so
grateful.
in case you are not familiar with what we're doing here, my name's Brad. I work for QSC in the marketing department, and I'm here with Evan Kay, who's a singer songwriter from Honolulu, Hawaii. And yeah, so kind of what we're going to do is talk a little shop and play some music and, you know, pass the time a little bit.
That sounds like a great idea.
Hey, so I wanted to. I heard you guys in Honolulu or in Hawaii in general are opening up to tourism. So now,
Yeah.
So when did that start?
That started, I want to say it was like mid-October.
Mm.
So it's
And
been
so
a couple of weeks.
Before that, it was like if you flew to Hawaii, you had to quarantine for 2 weeks,
Yeah.
and then you could go out and be a tourist.
Yeah. So it was 2 weeks or the duration of your vacation, whichever one was longer. I'm sorry,
Sure.
whichever one was shorter.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah. But
So
still,
yeah, so
yeah.
yeah, I mean like
no
if
one
you were
was
coming to
coming out there.
yeah, like if you were coming to Hawaii for 5 days, your hotel key worked once to get you in,
Oh
and then it
my.
stopped working after that.
So you got in, but you couldn't get in again.
Yeah. So if you left and came back, you were in trouble.
You have to get another room key, and
Exactly.
they'd be like, "Why did you leave?"
Yeah. So,
Oh man.
but
So
you know,
that's over.
but now there's a but now there's a pre-screening in place now. So if you take a test upon your arrival, within 3 days, I believe it is, of your arrival into Hawaii, and it's negative, you can skip out on the 2-week quarantine. So, um, but yeah, I mean that just started a couple weeks ago, so we're still kind of in the phase of getting used to how things are.
So do you have like a regular kind of public gig happening again, or any regular stuff kind of re-happening?
I have one regular gig right now.
Where's it at?
It's at Hideout at the Lalo out in Waikiki. I'm usually there every Sunday. And that out of all of the other gigs that I was doing was probably that was the one that came back the fastest. 'Cause I was doing like almost every day
Yeah.
pre-COVID. So it was an interesting switch to do have a completely loaded week to having one gig and then just finding other things to pass the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, just the one for now, and I've done more than enough of my share of Zoom gigs and all of those things.
Yeah.
So I've sang to a camera, I've sang to a computer screen more than I'd like to admit in the last 6 months.
Yeah, right. So this gig you're doing, is it can you kind of describe it? Is it outdoor, and what kind of safety precautions are they?
Yeah, so it's an outdoor gig. And they, because of the locally the I guess the advisement, or not necessarily the advisement, the new rule is if you're an outdoor gig, you need a 10-foot a 10-foot radius of distance.
Mm-hmm.
If you're indoors, you need the 10 feet away from the stage with some type of plexiglass, screen barrier thing. So luckily, because it's outdoors, we don't need the plexiglass. We just need the distance.
Yeah.
So there are those stanchions, those like retractable ones that you see at the mall.
Yeah.
covering a 10-foot radius of my performance area.
Yeah.
And because it's outdoor, but because it's also small, I have to cram myself into like a 3.5 square foot little performance area
Yeah.
uh in order for the 10 feet to clear. So it's a little challenging, but I like the challenge of, okay, how physically small
Yeah.
can I make my setup so that I'm not taking up too much space.
Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy, crazy. Well, that's good. I'm encouraged when I hear about places being creative with trying to make it work. You
Yeah.
know, like this is doing live music and enjoying being out in some way. If you can do the socially distance thing and also include live music and all that,
Yeah.
it's great. And I love to hear that people are they're they're trying to figure out how can we still do it and still
Yeah.
kind of go along with the guidelines and all those
Yeah.
things to keep
And I think
everyone
that's
safe.
one thing that played into our benefit, our as in creative musicians, singers, songwriters, physical media artists, all those things. The thing that played to our strengths is the fact that the last, at least here locally, it's been since around St. Patrick's Day, around mid March. For the last 7 months, uh, we've had to get really creative with how to live life.
Right.
Uh, and being creative and thinking outside of the box and thinking outside of the realm of what is possible, what is normally possible, is what we do anyway.
Right.
So I think it was kind of an easier transition for me because I already had the thing of, oh, okay, I guess I just need to take this time and go into the studio and write more music and uh, figure out how to live stream a 2 hour set and figure out how to do this.
Yeah.
And it played to the creative thinking outside the box,
Yeah.
making something out of nothing and turning bad into good type of thing that I think really speaks volumes to the creative community for sure.
Right. Right. For sure. Yeah. So I'd love to hear you play another song, and then I
Let's
want
do
to
it.
talk a little bit about when we get on the other side of your song, a little bit about mixing yourself on stage, setting up your gear, and talking about just some
Yeah,
tips and tricks about that.
absolutely.
Cool, man.
Save you, 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 save you. Maybe in an hour you don't need an explanation. You should know the way I feel. I breathe the lies sitting through your favorite punctuation. I know what is real. There's a reason why I went and blocked your number. Why I went out of my way to keep myself out of your trouble. I can't afford to hurt another time. Just see right through your lies. Each each time you tell me you're a changing man. Just call me one more time. I promise if you ever need a helping hand, I won't be there to save you, save you, save you. I won't be there to save you, save you, save you. I won't be there to save you, save you, save you, save you, save you, save you. Or maybe overthinking, over dramatizing what if things are better than it seems. I know it's wrong of me to look for the discrepancy, but I don't think it's too extreme. See, there's a reason why I never wanna see you, why I try so hard to make it like I have all the excuses. I can't afford to love another lie. I see right through your lies each time you tell me you're a changing man. Just call me one more time. I promise if you ever need a helping hand, I won't be there to save you, save you, save you. I won't be there to save you, save you, save you. I won't be there, save you, save you, save you. I won't be there to save you, save you, save you. I see right through your lies each time you tell me you're a changing man. Just call me one more time. I promise if you ever need a helping hand, I see right through your eyes each time you tell me you're a changing man. Just call me one more time. I promise if you ever need a helping hand, I won't be there to save you, save you, save you. I won't be there to save you, save you, save you. I won't be there to save you, save you, save you. I won't be there, save you, save you, save you. Thank you.
Awesome. I like that one.
Thank you so much.
That's a cool groove. Awesome. Awesome. Hey, Adrian, what's up, dude? So, Adrian, one of our coworkers, is checking out the stream, and Michael Griffin is out there.
What's up, guys?
Anyone who feel free to post a comment. Let us know where you're tuning in from. Here with Evan Khay. He's hanging out in Honolulu. Probably the weather's perfect right now, right?
It was worse earlier in the week. Well, late last week rather. It was raining all week up until I think Friday.
Yeah.
So, it's very very gratefully not too bad today.
Well, good. Yeah. So what I wanted to talk a little bit about is tips we can give people who have to set up their own PA and might not know a lot about mixing themselves. So we were talking before this whole thing started that you have to kind of mix yourself at a number of places you play at.
Yeah.
And so do you mind just kind of walking through the scenario of whether you bring your own gear or what's kind of presented to you when you show up and what you kind of have to do?
Yeah, absolutely. For me, always, I'm the kind of guy that over prepares. So with that said, uh, I almost always, regardless if I need it or not, I bring my PA with me. Um, I have a suitcase which is actually spilled out uh, on the ground because I was pulling cables from it earlier. Uh, with with my soundboard, cables, XLR cables, speaker cables, extension cords, aux cables, and essentially, if I get the call at the last minute to say, "Hey, Ev, can you bring your soundboard?" I grab one suitcase and I'm out the door.
Yeah.
Um, so and it's not a big inconvenience. It's about the size of uh my pedal train Metro 20 uh pedal board. The suitcase is super small, so I can leave it in the trunk of my car and not really not have it be a hindrance to me using the rest of the space of my trunk for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
Um, so that's the first thing I always do. I always bring it regardless of the venue I'm at because you never know.
Do you
Um,
have a do you have a rule of thumb of how early you show up before the downbeat to kind of set up and all that stuff?
yeah, I it depends on what I need. If and this is the least amount of time I need. So, um, if I'm setting up, regardless of what time the downbeat starts, I'm always there at least half an hour early. If it's a brand new place that I've never played at, I'm always 45 minutes to an hour early
Yeah.
because there's little things of, we could play at a hotel and I could show up at the valet and they go, "Oh, actually, you're not supposed to be here. You're supposed to park in the employee
Yeah,
uh
around the corner or
around the
something.
corner down the street." And I don't know those things when I go into a gig. So if it's a brand new place, always 45 minutes to an hour at least. And then if I'm bringing my own sound, I normally add another maybe 20 to 30 minutes on top of whatever that situation is.
Yeah.
So if I have to bring my own sound to a venue that I normally play at, I'm normally there um, between 45 minutes to an hour early just because I want to take time. The last thing people need to see uh, is you rushing to get stuff done.
Yeah. Right.
You know, the last thing people need to see is, oh, Evan doesn't have it together
Yeah.
because he's like rushing to throw everything up, and then I'm all out of breath when I start singing. So, uh,
I hate that.
you know,
I hate that.
when you
Yeah,
stumble in,
it's
you're
like
like
you
trying to
have to
force the cart down.
prepare
Yeah,
for potential surprises, or
yeah,
if one of your cables suddenly stops working, you got to have some spares, and you
yep,
try to have to anticipate the yeah, anything anything that can go wrong, right? And
yeah,
yeah, yeah, I'm the
and
same
and
way.
s- and sometimes things go wrong mid gig. I remember, I think Brad, you were telling me this story when we first started doing the play out loud at home. Um, we were all going through the phase of, it was like the first or second week we were doing it, and everyone was going through the phase of not really knowing what their setup is. Everyone has their own setup,
Yeah,
um, and everyone has their own way of positioning everything and running stuff. And one of the guys that were playing only had one XLR, one mic cable going into their recording interface. So all the music was only coming out of one side of the headphones.
right.
So mid performance, he starts playing, fumbling, trying to grab a cable, plugging it in, and fixes it live on air.
Yeah, Lee did that.
Lee, that's who
Yeah,
it was.
it was awesome, right?
Yeah, so sometimes things go wrong. Sometimes like I'll step on a pedal and sometimes there's a faulty cable, or the normal thing I use, the normal cable I use just dies on me. So I always go into it thinking I'd rather be over prepared and not need to go that route
Yeah.
than to think I'm good and scramble.
Yeah, the thing that happens to me uh, the most I think that I'm like mostly frazzled about is when I show up. I've showed up like backyard weddings or
Yeah.
private event weddings, or like I did a instrumental gig for a yoga class out on this like cliff area, and I always try to ask the person who's hiring me, I need power. I need I need to
Yup.
be I need to be pretty close to power. And I have a 50-foot extension cord that I usually bring with me,
Yeah.
but sometimes you show up and they're like, you're over there, and it's like, where's power? Oh, you know, they don't have an extension cord, so
Yeah.
it's one of the things like I that's like the one thing that to me can kind of, if you show up and there's no power and you don't have a way to like at least get 50 feet or something or
Yeah.
bring power that close to you, that can just cause trouble.
Yeah. I mean, it is almost shocking how those little things don't cross people's minds. Like
Yeah,
I did a socially distant wedding, in-person wedding a couple weeks ago, and they were like, "Oh, we're gonna have you out by the water." I went, "Okay, but where's the power?" And they had to scramble to find me a new spot to play at
yeah,
because it didn't even cross their mind that the musician bringing the sound and the wireless mic needed to be close to an outlet.
yeah. Well,
Um,
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
yeah,
I, I,
but
I got hired recently to play a cul-de-sac party, like in someone's
yeah, yeah,
cul-de-sac outside, and I showed up and I'm like, "Where's power?" And they wanted us to set up on the street, and everyone's house was like 50 feet away from the edge of the street, and so I actually, luckily, had a long enough extension cord, but I had to like walk into someone's house and get power from
from
you know
inside the house.
from their house and run an extension cord out to the street. Just
Yeah,
it's how it
but
is.
yeah, and in terms of that's just the practical of how to come to a gig correctly.
Yeah,
In terms of actually running your own sound, the thing to keep in mind is that um, you're always gonna need to. Um, for me, I always just succumb to whatever the mix I'm sending out to the house is.
yeah. So
Whether
you want to put like if you always want to monitor, obviously, right? So
yes, always
you want to have a monitor so you can hear yourself, but you also want to monitor what the audience hears.
yes,
The same exact thing, right?
yes.
So how do you normally set that up?
Well, for me, my setup is a certain way to where right now I have one microphone and one guitar, but it goes through my pedal board and comes out as one uh XLR, one
One
DI
channel.
mounted underneath.
Yeah.
So for me, I did it that way because if I can get the blend between my vocal and my guitar correctly, when I'm mixing, I can have a different monitor send and a different front of house main mix send for those of you that are aware of what those terms mean. Um, I can have two different monitors with two different cables plugged in, and two different volume knobs, and all I'm doing is adjusting volume
Yeah, but it's because you're
because the
only
blend,
yeah,
the mix of my microphone and my guitar is the same going into the board.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that's why I set mine up that way. I'm not uh I have it's taken me maybe 3.5 years to get this whole thing to the point where this is the current rig that I'm using.
Yeah.
Um I've been using for about 2-ish years, 2.5 years. But it took me a long time to get there. So I'm
Yeah.
not encouraging people to do that, but it helped me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The other thing that I was doing for a while is the great thing with QSCs is that they have especially the K8.2. I normally use my K8.2 as a monitor and then 10.2s as the mains going out. Each of those has its own volume control in the back of the speaker. and they can handle. So a lot of times what I'll do is I'll take I actually have my touch mix next to me. Every time I'm here, or every time I'm doing a live stream period, I love having this guy. Thank you, Brad, uh, for this. This has saved my butt uh, almost every time I've been in a pickle. So on the back of this is the Touch Mix 16. Like I said, I just have one XLR coming in here, but I have one XLR going out into my interface, and that's how you're listening to me now. Um, Thank you, StreamYard, for just letting me put one in instead of needing to put two. Um, but in the back of this, there are 6 auxes and 2 mains. So essentially 8 different outs. So what I do sometimes is I'll do a main left right out. Main left will go to the mains. Main right will go to my monitor, so that what I'm hearing in the monitor is the same exact thing other than overall volume
Right.
that the rest of the audience is hearing. And I've done that for a while. That can get tricky because speakers can't handle the same volume the same way. Meaning, if I were to use, say if I have this at 0, if I have the fader at 0, or at unity rather, uh, and I plug in a QSC versus a JBL, the pumping it at the same volume, the QSC will handle it better than the JBL, you know, and that goes for any speakers if they're not the same 2 speakers. So fortunately here in Hawaii, uh, almost every venue I play at has QSCs. Uh, and when I bring my own QSC monitor, my K8.2, all I have to do is plug main left in to my monitor or to the house, main right into whatever the other one is, and I can just go to the back of the speaker, turn the volume up and down,
Yeah. To get the
and
right.
my monitor volume set.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. And the thing to always keep in mind, especially when you're mixing, is to make sure that you're, Brad and I were talking about this before we went on air, clashing of frequencies. Sometimes too much of one range of frequency can be a bad thing for you, especially if you're a guitarist playing in like a super echoey, kind of flat restaurant, you know, and like too much lows. If you give your mic and your guitar too much lows, that's going to be a bad thing for you.
Right.
If you give your mic and your guitar both too much highs, then that's going to be a bad thing for you. And you want to make sure that the frequencies that you're accenting, and I'll dive into a little bit of it because that's a whole nother can of worms that we can save for another day.
Yeah.
But when we're trying to accent frequencies, we want to make sure that the frequencies that we're accenting don't step on each other. Meaning, for example, for my guitar, I want to make sure that I accent some of the lows and some of the highs. You know, so I get the low end, but I also get the high end. These strings, your open D and open G, are the 2 common strings, or the 2 common ranges of frequency that clash with a male vocal. So I will bring those frequencies down so that I can accent the mid frequencies of my voice.
So you have a EQ on your board, right?
I
On
have
your
an
pedal
EQ
board?
I have a digital EQ on my board in one of my multi-effects pedals. And then I'm also EQing in my in the touch mix.
So what? So you have okay. So you have vocals, guitar, and you also have an octave pedal, right?
Yeah.
So that's all like being jammed into the looper.
Yeah.
So you're not able to really EQ your vocal like separate, right?
Yeah.
Only your guitar.
Yeah. So the way that and this is what took me a while to figure it out. What I'll do is I'll EQ my guitar going into the looper,
Yeah.
and then my vocal EQ is at the soundboard.
Yeah. So
So
what is the what's the EQ look like on the touch mix for your one channel?
so
Because you have like the ultra lows, right? So
yeah.
do you do anything on the low end? Looks
So
like
it
you boost a little.
it is a little backwards, so I'm gonna try and get this as close as I can. So lows are on this side. So I
Yeah.
did accent some of the lows. I have about a 5.8 gain at 84 hertz.
Yeah.
You can see kind of right there. I'm gonna try and get it as close as I can.
Yep. You have a
I
little boost on
I
the top.
boost on the top, boost on the bottom, kind of a boost in the low mids, but I brought the high mids down.
Do
So
you notice that you tweak your EQ a little bit depending on the PA system you're playing through? Did I lose you? Oh, you were muted.
Sorry, give me 1 second.
Yeah.
There you go. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're hearing
Uh,
your mic on your
in
just,
in in putting the touch mix down, I unplugged the cable, so I'm gonna let it reboot real fast. Um, but I do notice that I'm almost always having to readjust the EQ depending on where I am.
where you are and
Um,
also what speakers you're using. Like I notice that if I'm playing through like a CP8 or a K10 or a K12, it's just I want to
oh,
I need to like just EQ things a little
give
bit
me.
differently. You got it? There you go.
all right.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Sorry, I
Yeah,
missed that
so like
whole question that you just asked because I couldn't
well,
hear you.
I just played I just did like a tutorial live stream with my looper rig, and then
Yeah.
I was using a CP12 when I was that's what I use to practice with right now,
Uh-huh.
and then I went to QSC and we did the thing we were using an K8.
Yeah.
So the K8 has less low frequencies, right?
Yeah.
So I found myself wanting to boost a little more of the lows when I was using the K8
Yeah.
versus the CP12 just already naturally can produce, those low frequencies easier because
Yeah.
it's a bigger speaker, right?
Yeah, and for me, um I because of that whole thing of, well, also, first of all, yes, I'm also that way where, especially when I'm doing all the percussive hits and the bass stuff, I kind of need to feel it when I'm playing.
Yeah.
And the K8.2 does a really good job of making sure the lows aren't crazy, because the last thing you need is too much lows in your stage monitor.
Yeah, because then it creates low frequency feedback, right?
Low frequency feedback, and it's just a nightmare.
Like
Because
resonant frequencies start just going like
Yeah.
crazy, right? Yeah.
So what I'll do um is I will oftentimes, as it's set up here, I'll boost the lows and then cut the lows at the speaker
Mm,
if it gets too crazy.
yeah.
The the point 2 series of QSEs has the digital high pass frequency cutoff, and also has those presets of EQ settings.
Yeah.
So I will almost always boost my lows here and then cut the speaker, I think at like 40 or between 40 and 80,
The extreme
depending
lows.
on how far I want the sound to throw.
Yeah.
Because and again, trying to not fully open the can of worms of music science, not all frequencies travel the same distance at the same time.
Right.
Meaning, if I hear, which is why like a lot of sirens are high pitched sirens, because high pitched frequencies can travel farther faster than low frequencies. So if I'm trying to throw my speaker, uh, if I'm trying to throw my speaker like 70 feet to, to a banquet hall or something like that, I will almost always cut the lows so that my voice can still throw without it getting too muddy.
Mm.
And you can hear it clearly all the way at the back of the room.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I think once, the great thing with the touch mix is that when you turn on the, I believe it's the RTA feature, you can actually see the frequencies moving in real time,
Right.
and the super big spikes are the ones that are going to be problems. So by taking out those super sharp frequencies, you're going to already make it, just taking those out are already going to make the sound of your performance better.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
there's a thing, at least here locally, there's a there's a saying in the music community that no matter how good you perform, your sound guy makes or breaks your gig.
Right.
Because it doesn't matter if you're a great singer, if if uh if it doesn't sound good to my ear, if it's too loud or if it's feedback or if you sound super
Piercing or
muddy,
muddy. Yeah.
yeah,
Right.
sound super tinny, those kinds of things. If it doesn't, if if I go, because it doesn't sound good, you don't get the call back.
Right.
Or you already leave a kind of negative feeling. It's like, oh, he's great. Our customers just don't have a good experience when he's in because the sound's not quality.
Right.
So that's always super important, for any musician, uh, to make sure that it doesn't matter if, well, it does matter if we sound good in our monitor. If we sound good here, but the audience isn't experiencing the same thing that we're experiencing on stage, then we're not doing something right.
Right. Yep. 100%. Yeah. So there's this Orange County Airport has music, live music in the terminal, right? And it's
Oh
a
yeah.
little QSC. I think it's a single K10 on a speaker stand and then one on the floor. Um, and so that gig is like I think it's 8 in the morning
Mm.
in the airport. So one of the things that people is in the morning, especially I think, sensitive to harsh,
Yes.
like sensitive to being too loud, too
Yep.
harsh, and so just knowing the right volume for your gig
Yeah.
is like such an important thing.
Yeah.
I think that's, there's been a few people where they've gotten complaints because the musician is wearing in-ears.
Yeah.
Okay.
Already a bad
So
thing.
they hear themselves awesome. They think it sounds awesome, but then they're playing at a volume that's way too loud and they don't even know.
Yeah.
So and most people won't tell you.
Yeah.
They just will walk by and wave, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Uh,
Absolutely.
because
And
they don't want to like hurt anyone's feelings or whatever,
yeah.
and it's so
And
that's really important to me, like to
yeah,
know.
agreed, cuz we go in, like, like when we wake up in the morning, our eyes have to adjust to, to the daylight, or when we go from light to dark instantly, or we go dark to light, our eyes take a second to adjust to what we see. Our ears act that same way, where, um, that's why jump scares are the way that they are, where if you go literally pop, people get startled because they're not ready for that sudden change of volume. And I've worked in churches for like almost 10 years, and I've noticed, um whenever there's like a Sunday morning, 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock service, we always we don't run the volume as loud as we do, later on in the day. It gets progressively, we bring the volume up progressively louder
Yeah.
as the day goes on, because people aren't really, the body needs to warm up to sound
Yeah.
the same way it warms up to light.
Yeah, I noticed too. Like I also run sound in church, and if the band starts out with a, like in the early service especially, if they start off with like a high energy song with full drums and it's rocking, that's when there's complaints that it's too loud.
Yeah.
Instead of like starting off a little bit maybe with a hymn or something, just to kind of like, and
Yeah.
anyway, it's interesting when you're saying that, your church experience is kind of the same way. Like people
Yeah.
just woke up.
Yeah. And and to touch on that in-ear thing briefly, just a tip for musicians. Uh, if you are running your own sound, please do not wear in-ears. Uh, I've learned it. I've learned that the very hard way. Of I'm running my own sound, and same thing. It sounds great in my ears, but I have no reference for how it's sounding for the rest of the audience and the rest of the patrons if I'm playing in a restaurant. Um, so if you are running your own sound, please don't. Uh, it please don't wear in ears.
It's a good rule of thumb, because also
Yeah.
when in that situation, especially if you're solo and you're running your own sound, you can't even really interact with
Yeah.
the people there, and that's part of it is interacting, with the people listening and stuff like that, and you can't hear what they're talking about.
Yeah.
And,
Absolutely. I mean, my cardinal rule is I don't I have an in-ear monitor rig that I bring with me. Like I have a Sennheiser in-ear monitor unit. I only bring it if I know the sound guy, and if I've previously worked with him on a gig that I liked.
yeah,
Because really, you're trusting. When I have my in-ears, is okay, I'm just responsible for how I sound. I'm trusting you to make me sound good.
right,
When you put your in-ears in, you're waiving all of your rights to sounding good in the in the mains,
yeah,
you know?
yeah,
So I never, unless it's a super bad venue, um like where I've played at venues where it's so echoey, or they don't want my monitor too loud, where I've had no other choice but to wear in-ears. But even then, I'll take it out, listen, like, okay, it's fine, put it back in.
yeah,
But if you have a trusted sound guy at the venue you're playing at, then I would suggest in-ears.
yeah, yeah. And I think in general, in-ears are really great, especially for loud stages. Like,
Yes.
If you're dealing with loud stages, that
Yes.
helps. That helps front of house. Like the more
Yeah.
people on in-ears, because then they
Mhm.
don't have to crank monitors very loud.
Yeah.
Um,
Because then you have 4 or 5 monitors uh, on stage with drums, bass amp, guitar amp, and it just becomes a nightmare. So the more stage volume you can eliminate
yeah,
by having people that are comfortable on in-ears. If you're also not comfortable on in-ears, don't wear in-ears,
right.
because that's a whole nother shift. Like I've been using in-ears for 7 or 8 years, so I'm actually more comfortable on in-ears than I am on a monitor.
Yeah,
Uh, because I know how to function with them in my ears.
yeah.
But if you're not comfortable, practice with them, because
It
you're
takes some
it takes
time
some
to get used
yeah,
to.
it
For
takes some
sure.
time to get used to, and it's a whole nother way of thinking and way of operating, because you don't have that that stage volume for yourself.
Yeah, totally. Awesome. All right. Well, so I think that was a great conversation on tech and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Hopefully,
I can
some
talk
people
for, you know this.
found-
I can talk about tech for ages.
Yeah, me
This
too.
thing was supposed to be half an hour, and I'm actually glad we took the time to dig into this.
Yeah, totally. So maybe if you want to play one more tune,
Yeah, absolutely.
and then we'll have to call it a day after your tune. Cool.
Yeah. To answer Adrian's question, um, I need to come back to Orange County so bad. Normally when I'm playing in Orange County, it's normally NAM related. I'll play NAM and then do a show or something afterwards. But if I'm on my way up there, I will make sure to let you know. So this is the song that I teased earlier that I this song I wrote a little while back, I think over the summer, and this song is actually coming out on the 13th of November. So I haven't really played it before live, so you guys are gonna be one of the first people to hear me play this completely um, stripped down like this. So this song's called "Used to Be." Hello, are you listening? If you hear me, I just need to know that I'm not alone. But if I am, I guess that's fine. I guess that's fine. Hello, do you forgive me? I'm trying to change, but I see you have given up on me. So is this it? Tell me why. Tell me why. What's the point of trying to change me? What's the point of trying to change me? What's the point of trying to change me when all you see is who I used to be? Hello, can you find me? I changed the name so you could love me without knowing me. But if you leave, I understand. I understand. What's the point of trying to change me? What's the point of trying to change me? What's the point of trying to change me when all you see is who I used to be? What's the point of trying to change me? What's the point of trying to change me? What's the point of trying to change me when all you see is who I used to be? What's the point of trying to change me? What's the point of trying to change me? What's the point of trying to change me when all you see is who I used to be?
out. Dude, that's a great one.
Thank you so much.
So that's a new one, right?
That's a brand new one that's coming out. Man, next week Friday.
Sweet. I can't wait for that. So, can what's the process of? Is it pre-saving a new song or something like that in Spotify? Isn't there something you can do?
Yes. So if you can absolutely do that. You can pre-save a song on Spotify. I will I'll be posting the pre-save link in about half an hour.
Sweet.
So you can follow me at Evan Khay. Oh, I think I did it right.
Yeah.
There. It's just my first and last name at Evan Khay. And I'm gonna post the pre-save link to the song so you can check it out when it drops next week, Friday,
Sweet.
Friday the 13th. So
Oh, the lucky day.
I did that on purpose.
Yeah.
I love it. I was like, you know what? Cool. Why not?
Yeah.
So
It's more memorable, right?
yeah. So so it'll be coming out next week. I just shot the music video for it a couple days ago. So I'll have a music video coming out on that same day. So but you can keep up with all the news and the release when you follow me on social media.
Yeah, so everyone, give Evan Khay a follow on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Spotify. Evan Khay.
Yep.
Is it Evan Khay Music or just Evan Khay?
Nope. It's at Evan Khay
Khay.
for everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, check him out. Great follow on Instagram. I'm kind of like mostly on Instagram lately, but but I still bop around other places. And,
Yeah, I'm mainly on Instagram. So if you want the up to the minute updates, Instagram's the way to go. But all the social media things are at Evan Khay.
Cool. Well, Evan, thanks again. It was fun chatting with you. We got to do it again.
Yes,
soon.
Please let me know. Thank you, Brad, and thank you to everyone at QSC for letting me come on and make some noise. It's been 7 months ish of doing this play out loud at home thing. So thank you for having me on. And whenever the next time is, I'll be there.
Yeah, let's do it again soon. Thanks
Awesome.
again, and we'll
Thank you, guys.
have a good day. Have a good week, everybody. Talk